Hello, everyone. We should be live now. You can let us know in the IRC when we are. Welcome back to another Ubuntu Engineering Live update. Today I have George Castro from the cloud side of things. I've got Lucas, who's our new CI train landing manager. And I have Tim Peters from the SDK team, all of which will be giving us updates on what they've been doing. It's a little bit quiet this week. Some of us have just come off of a sprint in Malta, so we're pretty tired, and some of us are at a sprint in Malta right now, including Lucas. So they will be very tired next week. If you have any questions for any of us at any time, you can ask them in our IRC channel, which is #ubuntu-on-air on Freenode. If you start your question with the word question in all caps, it'll turn yellow for me so that I don't miss it. And we will stop periodically and go back through and answer any questions that come up. If you don't see the IRC right now, or you don't have your own IRC client, you can go to ubuntuonair.com. There you'll get an embedded video and IRC window so that you can watch us and chat with us at the same time. I just want to remind everybody we're doing these every 2 weeks, but our next one, I believe, is scheduled right on top of the Ubuntu Open Week, or Ubuntu Online Summit. There we go. So in 2 weeks, we will not be having one of these updates. We'll be having something even better for you. If you go to summit.ubuntu.com, you can get information about that. There you can get updates. You can sit in on planning meetings, and we're also going to have a bunch of presentations and stuff. So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. In the meantime, we will go ahead and kick things off with an update from Tim.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the introduction. So, yeah, last week our whole team was in a sprint, as Michael said. I'll just go through the list of new stuff. So first, one of the things that I worked on is a new header. So you may have noticed from updates on the design blog that all the buttons and stuff that were in the toolbar are now all in the new header, and the bottom edge is free for application developers to use any way they think is good for the application. Other things, we worked on improving the UI toolkit test coverage to prevent regressions and to make sure all the changes we make are good and don't break anything. There's a new QML binding for the sort filter model. So if you have, for example, write a application with lots of contact details, you can use this QML filter model now to filter and to sort your data. There was some great work by Timo mainly on the Qt 5.3 stack. So we have a bootable stack on the phone with Qt 5.3. There's still some bugs, and we are going through all the bugs to see when if I think it's when we can switch to the Qt 5.3. There were some updates to the IDE, so our version of Qt Creator. There's GoQML support now. There's better launching of applications on the phone. We have a test plan, and there's a brand new emulators page that lists all the emulators, including an x86 emulator now, that you can use to test your applications. Current stuff that we are working on are new layouts for the list items that were requested by design, because some applications have new layouts for that. The new header is there already, but I'm working on a new API for that and adding additional features such as a search field in the header and other stuff. There are a whole bunch of updates from design tweaks and also bigger updates that we are working on now. And finally, we continue to work on Qt 5.3 so that we can ship that. So that was it for me.
All right, thanks, Tim. If anyone has any questions for him, just get that into IRC now. I have a question on the list view filtering. Does that happen on the model, or does that happen on the view?
On the model, if I'm not mistaken. I think on the model.
Okay. So if I have a custom list model, would I be able to take advantage of this?
Yes, I think I didn't work on it myself. Christian worked on it, but I think he did it quite general, so you can use it in a lot of cases.
Okay.
It's called sort filter model, so check it out.
Okay, cool. Because yeah, I've got a couple of them that I've used for a couple of apps that are using custom models, and I would very much like to be able to search on those too. So I'll check that out. And
Yeah,
then you meant,
there was something in Qt for that, but no QML bindings yet that we had in the toolkit, and now it's in QML, so it's much easier for you to use.
okay. And you mentioned the new header that's coming. Is there going to be a way for us to customize like the background color or the font color on those?
Um, yeah, I think so. Well, we have a new header, but it's using the old API, so you can easily switch between using the toolbar and the new header. But I'm working now on a new API that groups all the properties for the header together, and I'm working on some requirements like the search field in the header that are really essential. And when that is all done, I work on tweaks for the visuals. So then we can add the colors of the text and the background. So yeah, that's not the highest priority, but I'll work on.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. Again, if you have any questions for Tim, go ahead and ask them in IRC, and we'll come back to them. In the meantime, we'll move on to Lucas to get an update on the CI train.
Okay, thanks, Michael. So my update will be a bit quick today because I see that people are starting to gather, and background noise is getting louder and louder every time. Basically, we did some improvements to the CI train to handle some corner cases that we didn't do before. Also, to get because we're working still on getting a green image. It's getting really it's better. It's getting better every time. But we're still not having 100% green image on smoke testing because, as most of you know, that on every image build, after an image is built, we are running smoke testing. So like running all the autopilot tests that we have defined in the applications and system components. So we have still some failures in those, but we're working hard to get a green image till the end of this week, pushing upstreams to commit fixes to autopilot tests and crashes. From other news, we also had in the past 2 weeks we had 2 promotions. That's maybe not too much, let's say, but considering that there has been a lot of stuff landing, like for instance the MMS support and UI toolkit updates. It's like still a really good result, especially that we had some big blockers happening, especially with networking and Wi-Fi being disabled on some devices that we support. So those things were fixed. We landed those and promoted 2 images, image 44 and image 50. We also, to make things even better, we start generating so-called commit logs. So on every image, besides like getting a change list of what packages actually landed in that image, we also now create a list of those packages with information from the landing site. So okay, these packages landed from this landing, and this person was the actual person that clicked the button or prepared the landing. We can get all that information now to get to make triaging of problems much easier. So we hope that that helps. We're also trying to maybe think out of a better way and stricter way of handling image quality. So we're still discussing that, but we might be a bit more strict about when to stop promoting and when to start blocking on landing a certain component, because we noticed that sometimes those crashes that don't necessarily aren't necessarily visible to the user are being ignored and left over for many weeks. So we want to get those fixed and put some pressure on upstreams to always offer the highest quality of components they actually push for releasing. So that's just a few of the things that we're working on, because there's like still the CI train might stop working in the nearest time because we might be switching to the great CI airline. That's the main goal, the final stage of the CI train. This is coming. It's moving slowly, but we might have it still like in the nearest weeks or maybe even sooner. So we're anticipating that very much. So I think that's it for now.
So what is the CI airplane?
Yeah, CR Airline is something. It's a replacement for the CI train, which like enhances the functionality that we have in the train. So right now we're using the Google spreadsheet for actually filling out landing requests because this was supposed to be a temporary solution before the CI airline, the real solution gets developed, so that we wouldn't have to block or use deprecated methods of releasing. So the CI airline will not use the spreadsheet anymore. It will enable like every landing that is prepared will have a specific image built for it, so that the person creating that landing can test it on an image, just like flashing your phone with a ready prepared image with all the components that you need that you listed. So making it much easier for testing and releasing in the end.
Okay, so that should speed things up a bit, at least in that part of the development end of things. That's good.
That's what we hope for.
All right. If anyone has any questions on the landing process and where that's going, go ahead and ask an IRC. In the meantime, we'll move on to George Castro for an update on the cloud.
Awesome. All right, so I've got two parts here. The first part is kind of the traditional Ubuntu server meeting minutes. Now, most of those folks were at the OpenStack Developer Summit last week, so a lot of them are just getting back to work after the holiday and things like that. So their notes were basically just updating their work items and making sure everything's in sync there. Not a lot to report on the server side past an LTS release other than bug fixes and traditional kind of stuff. On the Juju side, since we don't really freeze, we've had a ton of activity in the things that are now available in the Charm store for people to deploy. So before we start there, just a quick note on the state of Trusty Charm. So right now, most of the services that you deploy, even if you're on a Trusty machine, do default to Precise, as that's our LTS that has the most support right now. It's been out the longest, so people have developed a lot of stuff for it and things like that. And what we're doing over time is promoting charms as they pass tests and reviews into Trusty. So we don't just want to mass promote all the things in the store to Trusty unless we know they work. So the way we're doing it now is slowly over time as we continue to audit charms, the Trusty store is starting to build up. If there's something that you absolutely need in the Trusty store and you want us to take a look at it early, then by all means let us know, and then we can get that in there. Some things that we do have in the store, hold on one second, I lost the IRC channel. Okay, whatever. In the Charmers review queue right now, there's a merge proposal for having SSL everywhere. There's been interest from people of adding SSL options into all the charms, so now that your MySQLs, when they talk to each other, you'll be able to do that over SSL. And I know Jose was adding the SSL option to the own cloud charm so that people can have a totally encrypted connection between their agents and their servers. There's a new merge proposal in the queue right now to update GitLab to version 6.8 stable. Those of you who are not familiar with GitLab, it's a sort of like host your own GitHub. Has a cool little UI. Another nice contribution there from Patrick Hetu, who's contributed a bunch of charms over the years now. We're still working on rewriting the Elasticsearch charm. This is something that Canonical IS is using in production, and we're slowly moving off of the old charm to the new charm, which reuses the Ansible cookbooks and is really sweet and sexy. So that work is continuing. We're working on getting C-File into the charm store. That's another cloud sync tool that has an option there for those of you that are looking to self-host to replace Ubuntu One. Some more fixes from the guys at Cisco who are maintaining the N1KV VXLAN gateway charm. Those fixes have been committed, and we're just waiting to put those into the store. Another big one as well is that the Hadoop charms are being revved to version 2.2. Now, when I say Hadoop charms, I mean Hadoop and all the other things that come with Hadoop. So it's not just Hadoop, but Hadoop is sort of like OpenStack, where people refer to it as one thing, but it's really like 15 things put together. So we're working on getting an entire Hadoop stack up to the latest upstream versions and putting that in the store for everybody. And I'm also looking to connect those to Elasticsearch, so anyone who's deploying Hadoop can have real-time text search in their MapReduce cloud, which is pretty cool. We also have a new charm in the queue for Cake PHP. This one I just noticed. Someone from the community stepped up. Cake PHP is like a framework for PHP. It seems that it has more than frameworks than Python does. I don't know if there's like a race on what kind of web platforms people have, but obviously we want to have them all. So that's in the queue now as well as the Ghost blogging platform charm, which has been kind of slowly getting there, slowly but surely over the past year. But that is finally being finished up. If you're not familiar with Ghost, it's like a modern blogging platform. It looks really nice. Hackbellini is also working on Piwik, which is like a free open source web analytics application, I guess a free software version of Google Analytics. He's done some work in his personal branch there for getting that up to speed. And Kapil is working on bringing Kibana and etcd, which is an interesting distributed key value store that a lot of people are talking about. It's analogous to like Zookeeper and things like that. So unless people have any questions, those are the updates of all the things that are happening in Ubuntu Server World. And that's basically it. But we'll continue to keep pushing these things into the Charm Store. So, as the life of the LTS continues to get older, we'll be ensuring that we're bringing the new hotness so people can deploy cool things.
All right. Thanks, George. The one question I have, burning question, do you have an orange box?
I do not have an orange box. Oh, but that does remind me. If you're in Texas, in Austin, next month, the 12th and 13th, that weekend, there will be an orange box in Texas. We'll be speaking at the Texas Linux Fest, and I'm going to be deploying stuff onto Power 8 systems, onto the orange box, and maybe onto ARM64. So I'm hoping to do like a trifecta of different hardware architectures. No, I do not have an orange box. But it's pretty easy to make your own orange box. Those of you that are interested, it's kind of a self-contained cloud made of IBM, Intel. They're called NUCs, Next Unit of Computing. They're little kits. They start off at $300 and go all the way up to $700. And we took 10 of them. We stuck them in a case, stuck a switch in there and a power supply, and it's kind of a portable cloud in the box. But they're really great because they're so small. You can kind of almost have like a cloud on your desktop. So it's really nice to be able to learn things like mass and stuff where you actually need physical nodes instead of just pretending in virtual machines. So
can you tell us real quick what the use case is for the orange box? How do you...
The use case for the orange box is simple. I know there's been some confusion about this because people are like, I don't get it. I could build my own server that's way more powerful than that, right? So the purpose for this machine is to get people spun up on OpenStack, plain and simple. So what we used to do in the past, we'd say, hey, do you want to get in on an OpenStack? They'll be like, sure, send a guy over to my business and we'll set up on OpenStack. And the original idea was you would provide the hardware and then our guy would teach you how to do OpenStack. But what ended up happening is, A, it's really hard to get spare hardware. And when people were scrounging up hardware, it tended to be like different models, different servers. Some weren't even servers. It's like, well, I don't have servers. I have this pile of laptops over here. And something like Mass and Juju really needs not just Pixie boot, but you need like a full set like IPMI in order to really take advantage of this, right? Because what mass does is it takes all of these servers, kind of registers them, then shuts them off, and then when you need them, then it goes and gets them, right? So in order to do the kind of automated stuff that's really awesome, you need to have certain kind of hardware. So people were having a really hard time getting mass, OpenStack, and Juju to work because they're trying to cobble it itself, and what they would do, they would spend a lot of time wrestling with the hardware and switches and all that stuff instead of learning OpenStack, right? So it kind of became this like complicated thing for people, right? And on top of that, sometimes you go, especially larger companies, right? They don't have, other than labs, the ability to, hey, we need to segment this whole network, right? Or get access to the internet. Some data centers don't have access to the internet. That's just how they roll. So it was difficult for larger companies, especially, to get spun up quickly because, hey, I have to file a ticket for someone to open a port so I can get this thing working. And it was just really long and complicated. So there was kind of a need for what if we had a self-contained thing that you could wheel to somebody. Canonical gives you 2 days of training. You get to keep the box for 2 weeks. And then it's all self-contained. It has a copy of the mirror on it, has a copy of the charm store on it, so that it's really self-contained, and then your engineers can concentrate on learning OpenStack instead of wrestling with all the meta things that you have to do when running a data center. Now, people still have to do that, right? If they say, oh, this is great. But they can do that concurrently while they learn OpenStack on the orange box in a kind of idealish lab situation. And then if it's really useful for them, then they can go and buy their own. This isn't something that I don't envision people having these stacked up in data centers and things like that. They're going to have their real servers.
So it's really meant
real
to be
easy
a temporary cloud.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I mean it has a wireless antenna on it, right? And people are like, why would you have a wireless antenna on a server? It's like, well, if you're meeting a company who wants to deploy OpenStack and you're in their conference room, right? You can actually tether your phone, and start deploying right there. That's why it has wireless. So it's really more of a like a training tool than it is something that a company would buy racks and racks of, because they're passively cooled. They probably wouldn't run well, compared to a real server in a data center. However, I envision, a department would have an orange box, right? And when a sysadmin gets brought on board and stuff, and you want them to learn OpenStack, but you don't want them messing it, with the real servers, you wheel it over onto his desk, shove it underneath, and then they get a real node. Each one of those nodes is as powerful as an M3X large on Amazon. So they're not slow. I think they go from 0 to installed in something like 7 minutes. So they're relatively fast. But for us, it's just a way for us to highlight OpenStack for people. In a way that lets them concentrate on OpenStack and not, oh no, I need to scrounge up 3 more servers in order to get this to work. So that's kind of the idea behind them. I think they're pretty cool.
All right. I'm going to give a quick update on some things from the community side, and then if we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So I mentioned earlier that in 2 weeks we're going to have the Ubuntu Online Summit. If you haven't heard of this, don't be surprised. It's our very first one. So the Online Summit is going to be a combination of the developer summits that we've been doing, as well as the Open Week, App Developer Week, and User Days events that we've been doing. So we've had these, 3, 4, 5 different online events that happen throughout the year, and we're grouping all of those into just a single event to get everything in one place. So we are going to have the traditional development planning sessions like we had in UDS, where everyone sits down and goes over what work needs to be done this cycle and assigns work items for those. But we're also going to have more presentation style sessions where somebody shows off something cool that they're working on, or walks you through getting set up with a certain technology. And so to support that, we've got some different tracks this year. To start off, we've got an Ubuntu development track, which is going to be a lot of the traditional UDS tracks. So for client and core, they will go into that. Those will probably be more planning sessions like you would typically get at a UDS. We've got an app developer track again, which is going to be kind of a mix of teaching you how to write apps and use our app developer tools, as well as planning what we need to do to improve those tools in our documentation over this cycle. We have a new cloud DevOps track, which is kind of split off from the server development planning and is focused more towards people who are interested in writing charms and managing cloud environments using Juju. So there will be presentations on how to use Juju, how to write charms, that kind of thing, and also I would imagine some sessions on improvements that will be going into those tools over the next cycle. We have a community track once again, which is going to be focused on the wider Ubuntu community as well as individual teams in that community, checking on how they're doing and what their plans are for the next cycle, as well as presentations on how you can get involved in those. And we have a new users track this time around, which is going to be specifically focused on people who are just consuming Ubuntu. They're using it on their laptop, or they're going to be using it on their phone, or they're a sysadmin running it on their server, but they're not actually writing charms for it or packaging things for it. So that's going to be very focused on how to use Ubuntu, how to get the most out of Ubuntu in your day-to-day lives with it. So I'm really looking forward to that. We opened up the schedule for sessions, so anybody can propose one. All we ask is that you are prepared to run a Google Plus Hangout for your session. If you go to my blog post, it's mhall119.com, or I've posted the link directly to it in the IRC. You'll get more information on that, as well as links on how to propose a session for the event. We've got several track leads on every track that are there to help you get your session proposed and get it on the schedule. So feel free to reach out to one of those if you have any questions about that, or if you need your session at any specific day or time. And of course, you can always find me on IRC anytime. My nick is mhall119, and I can help you get started on that. Let's see. The usual reminder, the Ubuntu On Air account on YouTube. You can follow that and get updates anytime there's an Ubuntu On Air broadcast. It's more than just these Ubuntu engineering sessions. We have frequent Q&As previously with our community manager, John O'Bacon, as well as updates from other teams that use this. You can also follow Ubuntu On Air on Twitter and get updates there. And speaking of our community manager, as most of you probably know by now, after 8 years, John O'Bacon is leaving Canonical to go build a community for the X Prize Foundation. So if you see him online, be sure to wish him best of luck in the future. And that's all the updates that I have from the community side, and we don't have any questions in IRC, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you everyone for coming and giving an update. Thank you everyone on IRC and watching the video. And we'll see you in 2 weeks at Ubuntu Online Summit. Bye guys.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.